Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm your ringmaster, Bob Pompeani. We have a great show in store for you tonight because you know this is a national holiday week for a lot of people. The NFL Draft, the Steelers pick 20th. What will they do? We'll talk about that. Jung Ho Kang is thrown out at the plate to end the game today. We'll break down that play, that call, that decision, and we'll also talk about the Pirates and where they are. And is it sustainable? But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Penguins. The post-mortem after they get swept in 4 games. Who would have thought? And here is your panel, left to right. On your television screen, we have Andrew Fillipponi from the PM team, 2 to 6 every day on 93.7 The Fan. On the weekends, it's the Pony Show on CBS Sports Radio. In the middle, we have Mr. Josh Yohe, outstanding beat writer for the Penguins for The Athletic. And to the right, he does the same outstanding work at the Post-Gazette, covering the Penguins every single day. That's Jason Mackey. So let's begin where the series ended, in a sweep. I don't think anyone here thought that was going to happen. If so, it would have been the Penguins doing the sweeping. Jason Mackey, what went wrong in this series?
Well, Pomp, a lot of stuff, honestly. I mean, we can start with the goal scoring. The Penguins scoring just 6 in those 4 games. We can start with the Penguins' stubbornness and their inability to adapt to what the Islanders did. They never really found a solution. How to get through the Islanders' structure. We can talk about them not having a lead for very long when they did have it, not being able to sustain it. I think several of their players had some of their worst performances of the season. I look at Chris Letang specifically when I say that, and you know, all season long we kind of worried about their offensive diversity. Would they get enough goals from enough sources? And they did not. Sidney Crosby's line was not very good, and it was rather surprising. I mean, a lot of the Penguins on breakup day talked about in March how they really hit their stride. They had that great 4-game road trip, Raleigh, Nashville, a couple other places. I think a lot of us thought that they were, you know, destined for some really good things and just fell flat on their face. It was really stunning to see. Credit to the Islanders, but the Penguins had a lot of stuff wrong.
Bob, it was an embarrassing performance from the Penguins on many levels. And here's what's most shocking of all. The worst thing that happened to them was getting healthy. That makes no sense, right? When we talk about Stanley Cup playoffs, if you get healthy, you got a chance. No, in this case, that wasn't the case. When they weren't healthy in March, without Malkin, without Letang, to steal a term from Mike Sullivan, they played the game the right way. They really did, and they were onto something. But when they got everyone healthy again, they couldn't help themselves. They had to be the old school Penguins. They had to try to win every game 7-5. They're not that good anymore. It's not that easy to do. They used to be able to do it a few years ago, maybe. They can't do that any longer. Without some semblance of structure in their game, they're obviously not that good of a team anymore. And maybe their single biggest problem moving forward is that the best players on the team, especially the guys wearing number 71 and 58, they tuned out the head coach at times this year. And that's pretty obvious. That cannot continue moving forward.
Yeah, I'm going to say identity crisis for this team, guys. A team that has told us repeatedly that they're built on speed and that they're going to outskate teams to victories. And then a team that wants to play conservative playoff, quote-unquote, hockey and win 1-0 or 2-1, I thought skated circles around them. Part of it was a willingness, a want to, a more motivated team, and the general manager even came out and strongly suggested that. So I think the Islanders wanted it more. And I think the Penguins are also, like, not only are they in an identity crisis, but they're in like an arrogant or pompous stage too, where you tell them what's wrong and they tell you what's wrong with you instead. So they're pointing their fingers outward more than at themselves too much, and I've got a big problem with that.
Josh, let me ask you this, because that's very strong stuff you guys said, and I think it's very relevant. Jim Rutherford didn't hold back, too. He came out and pretty much said there are guys here too comfortable in what they've done in winning 2 Stanley Cups. When you look at the roster, Josh, you can kind of zero in on who he's talking about, at least a group of them. Who specifically do you think he's talking about?
Well, yeah, and it's funny, Jim Rutherford has been so loyal to this group for so long, and for good reason. They've won 2 championships. We can't ignore that. But it was pretty clear to me, a couple of the guys I just mentioned, Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang, the general manager's not real thrilled with them right now. And I look at that core group, not Crosby. He was great again this season. He always is. But some of those other guys like Patrick Horn, Brian Russ, they had bad series. I don't think those 2 guys played with the fire that we're accustomed to seeing. And for all of the damning things that Jim Rutherford said the other day, the thing that jumped out that Bob just touched on, when you say your team looks content, boy, that is not a complimentary thing to say about a group of hockey players. And when you look at the structure of the team right now, there's hardly any free agents, which means there's no real space under the salary cap to make moves on July 1st. expect a lot of trades this summer.
Yeah, and there are going to be trades involving significant players. As Josh said, I mean, there's only one way around it. If you would trade, I don't know, Justin Schultz or something, I'm just throwing a name out there, is that really going to get people's attention? I mean, certainly not to the magnitude of something like trading Malkin, Letang, or Kessel would be. And I look at trading Phil Kessel as the most realistic possibility. I don't think it makes sense for them long term in a business sense or a franchise sense or anything like that to push the panic button and trade Evgeny Malkin. I question whether with his injury history, whether the Penguins could even trade Chris Letang if they wanted to. I do think they can move Phil Kessel. I think it makes the most sense for them. If Jim Rutherford offer on Chris Letang that maybe made sense for him, I think they would listen to it for the reason that Josh mentioned and we've been talking about. Playing high-risk hockey is not something that is necessarily working for the Penguins right now, and I think their greatest defender with that is Letang.
Jason, I think, and Josh, if Phil Kessel owns a home here, he put the for sale sign out after Rutherford, because you contrast what he said last year. Rutherford went to bat for Kessel at the season wrap-up and explicitly talked about how Phil had an injury and excused his 1-goal performance in 2 rounds of the playoffs. And now he's talking about guys with 2 cups who don't strongly want to win. So I think that was an indirect shot at Kessel, I would think, because he's probably the more movable and the easier to sell in a trade, that he's the guy that's out of here. And I'll tell you what, Bob, if I'm guys like Trevor Daley and Ron Hainsey and Ben Lovejoy who spilled guts for this team, I am insulted by what Rutherford said earlier this week, that this group was the best defensive team, the best group of blue liners that he's Come on, give me a break. They gave up, 14 goals in 4 games in this series? They turned Jordan Eberle into Mike Bossy? Please, give me a break.
Yeah, you could throw in Ian Cole in that game too. I mean, he's another guy. You talk about blood and guts and face. He blocks shots with his face.
All except Daley are still playing, by the way.
Interesting, yeah. All right, real quick before we go to break, we'll continue this into the next. Mike Sullivan has 1 year left on his contract. So, Jason, what happens in this offseason? Does he sign? Do they wait? What do they do?
I don't think they can. I mean, the Penguins previously paid a coach to do nothing in Dan Bilesma for a long stretch. I don't think they want to do it again. And I think, like Sullivan, and there's no problem in that relationship. I just think, given the situation that the Penguins are in, which is basically a foul start, could start calling Sullivan's job into question. I don't think you can do it.
Yeah, I don't know that Sullivan will get an extension this summer, but I still don't see Jim Rutherford trading him. There is a respect between those two guys and a loyalty, and we've seen it in the past. I'm not saying he should be fired, but Ray Shero probably should have fired Dan Bilesma long before he did, and he didn't because of a loyalty. I think Mike Sullivan's a way better coach than Dan Bilesma, but I sense that same kind of loyalty between these two.
Well, and those guys, Josh, ended up having contract extensions that were attached at the hip, Shero and Bilesma. We don't have that in this situation. Jim got an extension in November and Sullivan didn't, which I thought was very interesting. Look, Bob, I think he goes into next year on the hot seat. I know he's accomplished a lot here, but if you didn't know any better, just watching this team in the playoffs, and they knew what they had to do to win, and then they tried to take on New York individually, not as a team, I think you could look at his message and think it went in one ear and out the other. So I think he has to go into next year on a very hot seat, and that's why I wouldn't give him an extension.
Oh, the life of being an NHL coach these days. What have you done for me lately? That's pretty much how it goes. And yes, that New York team played rope-a-dope, and the Penguins sucked right into it. We'll have more hockey talk coming up, but first let's talk about a major move that's just been made. Former Kenny Ross Chevrolet and Nissan and Zelienople are both now part of the #1 Cochran team. This is #1 Cochran's first ever Chevy franchise and Nissan store #4. So right now, you will get grand opening buy lease offers plus an extra $1,000 over for your trade only at the new #1 Cochran Chevrolet and #1 Cochran Nissan Cranberry. Plus, we have smooth moves coming up all next right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran, Go One Better, and by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.